this is Joanne with Broadcast Sunny, and today I am here with Angela Von Son. She is the founder of Procrastinationcoach.net. She is the author of From Do It Later to Do It Now in 10 Days. She has facilitated training for corporations and government, and she does do one-on-one training or coaching for to help you not procrastinate and be more productive, which we can all use. So, Angela, how's it going?
Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Good. So I just I just exited out my questions. Duh. Oh, all right. Let's start with your origin story.
Mhm.
You said to me in our conversation, I used to think I don't procrastinate because I was a very disciplined student. And I found that very interesting because it's like, oh, that means she does believe. And actually, I have taken one of your courses and I remember you saying, yes, I procrastinate.
Yeah.
Actually, before we start, one of the biggest things I got out of your course was, do you fear success? And I was like, oh, that's silly. And then I thought about it. I think you had a worksheet and I went, oh my God, I do fear success. But that's neither here nor there. So I was wondering, so as a disciplined person, how do you procrastinate?
Well, like I said, I used to think I didn't because, well, in my study, I was well known amongst my friends as the person who would make summaries, be in time with stuff, and many of my friends didn't do that, but they had a different work week for me. I was not sure which study I wanted to do, so I started two. It was like, I have time enough. We don't have that many hours that we need to be there. I only need to read a lot. And what I thought when I started that was like, well, it might be easier because if I have a lot to do, then I won't waste time. And I finished two studies. I managed to do both of them, but I have actually finished them because I had a busy work week. So I was always making sure I made progress because otherwise it would become too much. And my friends had the time to chill, do nothing, to procrastinate. So the reason why I didn't procrastinate was that I didn't have the time for it. And everyone said I was disciplined. And then I started working on a PhD. And that's 4 years instead of the last part of my studies, which was half a year for a thesis. And then I slowly learned that when there was no structure at all to the day, that I found it really hard because I could do this, that, everything was important. Nothing needed to happen now. And I really struggled with that. Like, how can I keep myself moving forward? And then I still didn't realize I have procrastinator's tendencies. I only learned that when I started reading books and making courses for my coaching business. Everyone always says you need a niche as a coach because there are 1,000 coaches, so you need something to talk about. And I thought, well, procrastination is a really interesting thing. I don't know. Let's dive into that. And only when I started learning more about it, I realized that I procrastinate on many different things. And we tend to think about procrastination as a thing for work or studies. But I realized, like, you can procrastinate in every part of your life. So I was shocked, basically.
Well, what I found interesting that you said was when you were busy, you were disciplined. And then when you had free time, you became not disciplined. As a entrepreneur, I find that I have no one looking over my shoulder, and it feels as if I have free time. I also find since this conversation is coming about because of that creative writing study group, and I find as a writer, you nobody's really holding you accountable unless you have a contract with a publisher, which most writers don't. But unless you don't, you are the one who is going to make yourself disciplined and move forward. But you have a lot of free time, so yeah, it's hard.
And I think the flip time of that is that free time hardly ever feels like free time, because you feel you could be writing, you could be working on your business, you should work on your social media. I mean, all the time you have is potential productive time.
Yeah.
So there's this weird combination of being a lot of free time, but nothing feels like proper free time. And I see many people with unstructured jobs or like being self-employed wrestle with that.
Yeah.
Like, how do you give yourself properly off, really free time when there's so much to do? I learned that that's one of the things I procrastinate on.
You said one of the things, what? What was the last thing?
One of the things that I procrastinate on is actually granting myself the time I need to recuperate, to recover, because I always feel, but there's more to do. I should do more.
Yeah.
So that's almost overproductive, but it still feels like procrastination. It's really weird. Like you start doing wrong things to feel like you're being useful.
Yeah.
Whereas you should do something else. For example, nothing.
Yeah.
That really helps you regain your energy to become productive again.
Right. And to be creative and to be able to solve problems. You need that break, but you're right. When you're not doing it, you're thinking about it. And so, and then it becomes this overwhelming big blob, like your little logo. And you just can't. You just can't. No, I agree. So that's why this I thought was a perfect topic to talk about with the for the group.
Well, if I can build on that, because you mentioned the creative process, and what I've noticed is when you start working with procrastination and people who procrastinate, one of the things I encountered was like, what exactly is procrastination and what isn't? And there is a part of the creative process that's like, feels like doing nothing, but you're stewing on things, they are going through your head. It's like the best ideas come in the shower. So unfocused time is part of the creative process. Our brain has a focused mode and an unfocused mode. And for learning, you need both. So you first need to focus on learning, and then you need the brain to, shower, have a walk, like the focus gets away. And that's where things go from short-term memory to long-term memory. So our brain works differently when we're in a different mode. And to focus all the time, and things like scrolling through Instagram is also a form of focus, because you're looking for information you like or whatever.
Yeah.
So unfocusing is part of the creative process, and we tend to forget that because we have this focus on productivity. I should work. I should make myself useful.
Well, then that brings up another thing, because, there's a lot of criticism that we spend too much time on social media, which in some cases, I do. And in other cases, it's helping me build a relationship with people I want to work with. So I don't think it's entirely fruitless, despite what the media will tell you. So this is probably a good time to discuss what is procrastination.
The definition I like most is simple. It's postponing something, not doing it, even though you're worse off by not doing it.
Yeah.
So to make it even simpler, it's not doing something where it's going to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
But like really trying to not realize that by distracting yourself, because distraction mainly is the thing that facilitates procrastination. You do something else.
Right.
There's a tension you feel somewhere inside, and okay, either other work or social media or
Gaming, that's my biggest one right now.
yeah,
It's changed over the years, but my biggest one is those stupid app games. I'm like,
yeah.
oh,
That's
I
the
have to
reason.
play it. You have to go on it once a day, and sometimes more than once a day to keep it going. And it's like, no, and I have this one game. I just can't, if I let go, because it's a team, I'm
Yeah,
digressing, but that's my biggest my I guess what do you would call it, trigger, or
yeah.
procrastination trigger, or distraction, my biggest distraction.
Well, I'm not even sure we're digressing here because one of the things I have trained myself to do, some things I make easier. When they're black and white, they're easier for me. So I don't start games because I know once I start them, I might be drawn in and I want more of it. So I don't have that distraction because I have my self-knowledge. And I tried out once and I became a total mess in a week. And I realized, yeah, it was a good idea that I don't do this.
In a week? It just took you a week?
Yeah, but I went overboard. It was a week where there was a lot of stuff
I
going on
need to
within
hit
me, and this
bottom,
was the
that's what you're
perfect
saying.
flight. Yeah, it was a flight mechanism.
Yeah.
And when it comes to social media or gaming, or I try to look into myself. If I'm on there and I feel uneasy about it, like what am I doing here? I'm spending too much time, and I feel the sense of unease. I'll go look into myself, but what is it I'm actually looking for? So on Facebook, I tend to spend time there that doesn't feel right anymore when I, for example, have a bad day and I want to connect with people. So I want to feel better.
Yeah.
I may be in a bad mood and scroll through Facebook or my Twitter feed to see something nice to make me feel better. So if I can check like what need brings me here, and am I fulfilling that need by doing the activity I'm doing now? I mean, gaming brings endorphins. I'm sure about that. You know, all the little
Yes,
rewards and
absolutely.
everything.
When you accomplish something, and that's what I keep telling myself. My logical brain is telling me that, you're getting this, hey, I accomplished something, when
Yeah.
you're really not accomplishing anything, but the game makes you feel like you're accomplishing something, especially
Yeah.
with their dings and their, yay, you won. And
Yeah.
yeah, that is
Yeah. In that
probably what
one
draws me
week,
in.
what went bad for me, I realized like, okay, I am picking digital raspberries now, and the raspberries in my own garden are still there. Like, okay, there's something weird going on here.
Yeah, that's because you could sit on your couch and collect raspberries instead of getting off your butt, going and putting your jacket on in the cold and getting them. Yeah, and then having to
Um,
figure out what actually is wrong with the raspberries, where if it's wrong, you just throw it out and make a new raspberry on your phone. But so,
And the weird thing is, I love going outside. I don't go outdoors as much as I like to. So that's something I procrastinate on. So I can enter Facebook because I need a break or because I want something. And what I should be doing, if I really take care of myself, is go out for a walk, even if it's just 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And my creativity often gets sparked so badly that I want to run home and apply all the thoughts that came to me just from 10 minutes of walking. So it's always like, what's the need? What am I looking for? And is the thing I'm doing now, is it the right strategy or not? And right as in making me feel better, being creating what I want. We call it productivity, but there's something about that word that um, I think is too one-dimensional.
oh,
Yeah, because we human beings, we want to be alive. We want, or most of us, we want to enjoy life when we can. We want to create things. We want to accomplish things. And productivity has this very narrow meaning of getting work done.
I always apply, when I think productivity, I only apply it really to work, or
Yeah.
to maybe like if it's in the home, the honey-do list. I apply it, the word, to, I never think of it as a whole living word. I think of it of things that need to be done
Yeah.
when you're productive.
Yeah.
But I suppose, yeah, I see what you mean
Sometimes,
by,
yeah.
by
Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is take a break, or go outside and have that walk where your creative ideas come. So because it's so related to work, I think many people feel like they're procrastinating when they're actually doing something really useful.
yeah.
So that's why the definition that when it makes you work, when it's not good for you, is really meaningful to me. Because if you're people say lazy. I don't like the word lazy, but if you're like
I don't
lazy
like the word
and
lazy
really
either.
enjoying it, I think you're doing something really well.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wrote a little piece on laziness. How I was looking up articles for something, and they came up with one of the reasons people don't work is laziness. And I said, is it laziness? In my case, when I think I'm being lazy, it's really I'm overwhelmed and I don't know how to handle the situation. So I go and do something else. That appears I'm lazy, but really I'm just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
Yes.
this is a good turn into quick fixes. You had mentioned these quick fixes, and it's so weird. It's like we're tuning into each other because I was thinking of it like a couple of days earlier how we have become a society of getting out information online, and they're just short little articles. Like I remember when I was a kid, bran was a big thing. Bran is so good for you. And then everyone would buy bran muffins, bran cookies, bran. And then as I got older, I saw this happening more and more. Oh, well, fiber, which is kind of bran, is good for you. Or strawberries have tons of antioxidant. We should be eating more strawberries. And so you eat more strawberries. And then it dawned on me, it's just one thing. It's just one brand, and it's not, and that's how the internet has become. It's one fad after another fad, and we think this one thing is going to fix our lives when really we need to look at the whole picture. So when you mentioned quick fixes, I was like, oh my God, I was just thinking of that. But how do you, I would like to hear you expand on your idea of quick fixes in the internet. Well, even
Yeah.
in just media in general, because you get it in magazines and such. Magazines are
Yeah.
bad at that too.
Well, in the Netherlands where I live, I have been lucky enough to find some magazines that did in-depth features of on procrastination. So it happens that they write about it in a good way. And what I mean with in a good way is that it's not the simple do this and you're cured. Because when I started researching how procrastination is present on the internet, I soon found that whenever a website or a magazine wants to attract readers, they'll do a feature on procrastination because everybody does it. I
Yeah.
mean, there are different figures, but one of the figures it's in the literature is like 95% of people procrastinate. So if you write about procrastination, you'll draw readers. All good. But what happens in many of the articles I don't like is that it says, do this, do that, and
It'll fix ya.
it's fiction. And one of the reasons that procrastination it can be a real problem for people is that it turns them into their own worst critics. So they will feel bad about not having done something they feel they should have done. And one of the triggers for procrastination, if you have, is when you have a low faith in your capabilities to succeed in a task, which in normal lives, oh, that seems difficult. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it. And if you feel that way, the task gets scarier, and you're more likely to procrastinate on it. So it becomes something, well, a spiral. And I think all of us know it from the writing process. Like if we're in the flow, if writing gets really easy, and if we're outside of the flow, it's like, I'm actually not sure if I'm such a good writer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is going to work. So when it gets daunting, it gets very tempting to not do it.
Yeah.
So what these articles do is say, this is a simple problem. Here's the solution. Fix it. And if you try it and it doesn't work, you'll feel even worse about yourself. So many of these so-called solutions can make things work. And I think that's a real problem, because if it was that easy, why would we have millions of articles on procrastination? It would have been solved by now if it was that easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
So
totally
that's
agree.
what I hate about a number of those articles, is that it makes people feel even worse about themselves.
Yeah.
They're counterproductive.
Yeah. It's sort of like a New Year's resolution. It sounds like a great idea, but to really keep at it, it requires so much more than just saying it.
Yes.
And then you
And it's
feel
like,
bad by the end of January. I couldn't even keep to my New Year's resolution.
yeah. And it's like, I mean, there are so many free tips out there on the internet. My work shouldn't be necessary if it was that simple. But I get people coming to me saying, I've tried everything and it doesn't work. Well, that's because procrastination is not a cause. It's a symptom. It's a symptom of something else. And if you don't get to the root of what's going on, which might be very different for very different parts of your procrastination pattern,
Right.
and that's, the articles never say that. So one time you might be procrastinating for one reason and another one for that. And it's like when you have a cough, you're coughing. Do you have a cold? Do you have the flu? Do you have pneumonia?
Is something
Is
just
it,
caught in your throat?
is it the whooping cough? And it's like, nobody will just say, here are your cough drops, go and good luck. It's like, no, if you have pneumonia, you have bacterial or viral, and antibiotics only work for one.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we need to diagnose procrastination, a part of it, as if it's a disease. It's not. It's just part of the normal human pattern. But it has these different ways of showing up and different strategies you can try out. It's not just one thing cures all.
I'm going to take a break here.
Yeah.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying the interview with Angela Von Son. This is part one, sorry. Part two is coming, and I will put it up there once it's up. And you can see Angela's book, find Angela's book on Amazon, right there. That's not a link, unless I can make it a link, I'm not sure. But that's the cover. I got my copy. Yes, I know it's flipped. I'm still working on that. And please subscribe. We're a new channel, and we could really use your support. And we will keep this channel going if we can monetize it, and we can only do that with your support by subscribing and coming back. Look, click on the bell next to the subscribe button so you can get notifications whenever a new video is up for the Creative Writing Study Group. Thanks.